Voces de La Frontera Action is so proud to stand here with Dolores Huerta, who came all the way from California to participate in the march and rally with us today. And it's such an inspiration for all of us here. The recent decision by the Fifth Circuit Court, although not favorable, is welcome, because now that decision can be appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, and we are confident that the final decision will rule in our favor. And it was only through grassroots pressure by fasters on the steps of the court and public condemnation across the country that forced the hand of conservative judges to finally issue a decision. We also know that who sits in the presidency in 2016 will either enforce and expand protections to millions of immigrant families or promote policies of racial hatred, deportation, and family separation. We are committed to exposing the platform of the Republican presidential candidates that support repealing deferred action for Dreamers and parents of U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents, and are promoting mass deportation policies. As a Latino and civil rights organization, we condemn not just Trump, who is the most blatant in his racially offensive statements, but the other candidates, such as Marco Rubio, a Latino and son of immigrants, who affirmed only once again last week that he would repeal DACA and deport Dreamers. Rubio is a traitor to his immigrant roots because he is chasing voters based on bigotry. The Latino community needs candidates that don't just speak Spanish, but speak justice to millions of families. Voces de La Frontera Action marches today to not only condemn hateful rhetoric and policies, but to present a counter-agenda with allied organizations based on a living wage and racial and immigrant justice. Today, we also march to celebrate a local victory with the creation of a city-county ID for undocumented residents and underdocumented citizens so that they can feel more welcome in our community and integrated. This local victory was thanks to Latino voters and other voters who elected progressive candidates to the Common Council and the County Board, and it also reflects a shift in public support for immigrant rights. This shift is not reflected in our primary presidential debate, which is being held hostage by Tea Party politics and gerrymandered districts, and it places the Republican Party squarely on the wrong side of history. We are committed to ensuring that the Latino vote continues to grow in Wisconsin and be a decisive voice in the 2016 elections. We vote for those who are denied the right to vote, we vote to keep families united, and we vote for economic justice. Thank you. It's my honor to present to you Julio Basurto, who is one of our members and who has, over the last 10 years, he and his family have been dedicated to the fight for immigrant justice, and who his own family are beneficiaries of DACA and the DAPA that is still held up in the courts.
Buenos días. Mi nombre es Julio Basurto. Tengo viviendo aquí en Milwaukee 15 años. Tengo 3 hijas ciudadanas.
Good afternoon. My name is Julio Basurto. I have 3 children, and I've been living in the United States.
Tengo una hija graduada de la universidad. Tengo 2 hijas ciudadanas.
I have 2 daughters who are U.S. citizens and 1 daughter who is a graduate of the university.
Al parecer yo entraba dentro de lo del DAPA para tener un poco más de seguridad en el país.
My family was one of the families that's DAPA eligible, and it would have given us more security in this country.
Con esta decisión que tiene la Corte, me siento un poco inseguro porque posiblemente me separen de mi familia.
This decision makes me feel less secure. It makes me feel like my family is with the threat of separation.
Nos venimos a este país a buscar un mejor futuro, a trabajar.
We came to this country to look for a better future, to work.
Tengo 10 años con un negocio.
I am a small business owner for 10 years.
Hemos ido progresando. He enseñado a mis hijas que debemos de portarnos bien. Estamos bien en el país.
We've made progress in this country. I've taught my daughters to always lead a good path.
Estoy un poco triste por el futuro de muchas familias.
It saddens me for many families.
pero seguiremos luchando, seguiremos buscando el bienestar de todos.
But we're going to committed to keep fighting and to looking for the benefit, not just for ourselves, but for others.
Y no pararemos hasta lograr algo de beneficio para todos los personas.
And we're not going to stop until we achieve something for everyone that needs relief.
Gracias.
Thank you. And it's such a treat to be able to introduce the next speaker, Dolores Huerta. Dolores Huerta, co-founder of the United Farm Workers with Cesar Chavez and inspirational leader of so many Chavistas that turned what was once believed to be historically impossible into reality, has continued to be tirelessly a tireless fighter, national and international leader on the side of civil rights and workers' rights and human rights. And it really attests to the importance of these elections that she's here with us. And it's such an honor to have her here. A warm welcome.
Thank you, Brian. I want to thank all the press for being here and everybody that's on the line also. Thank you very much for tuning in. And it's really unfortunate when we think that these so-called, and I'm going to use the word so-called leaders, are trying to win elections on the backs of attacking so many helpless and innocent people. While it's a great disappointment what has happened today with the decision from the appellate court, and we have to remember this is why it's so important that we elect progressive leaders, because the majority of the panel that made this decision not to implement Obama's order on DAPA and DACA were appointed by Bush, the Republican appointees. But at the same hand, it does give us an opportunity, in the Justice Department, an opportunity to be able to appeal the decision, and we'll hope that that will go well. And it's when you think of Donald Trump, for instance, and he's kind of the face of the Republican Party right now, because everybody's trying to follow his lead on demonizing and maligning the Latino community. And when they use the word Mexican, I think anybody who looks like a Mexican, wherever they come from, will also be, victims of that attack, including my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, who also happen to fit in that category. And Mr. Trump, probably the food that you ate today was picked by an undocumented worker somewhere in the United States of America. And it's so sad that they do not appreciate these candidates, these Republican candidates, the hard work that immigrants are really doing to sustain our economy. Not only working in our fields, in our packing sheds, in our hotels, in our nurseries, taking care of people's children, taking care of people's sick people, but that they malign them. And when we think of what does that really cause, I mean, we think of places like Nazi Germany, when they demonized the Jews, that then, of course, led to the horrible genocide that happened. So these are the consequences. Our children are suffering from these attacks that they are making on them. And they're not satisfied with just attacking immigrants. They're attacking women's reproductive rights, trying to defund Planned Parenthood, where not only women but families go to get the kind of family services that they need. When they're also attacking workers by going against raising the minimum wage. We know that families are struggling to be able to survive while prices keep going up, and yet families are struggling to survive, and so they're against going against the minimum wage. They're in denial of climate change. I mean, wait a minute, when we think of global warming, that's going to affect every single one of us, Democrats and Republicans, and if we don't take care of our planet, that really spells doom for all of the world. So I don't know where these people's heads are at. I don't know what kind of an education they've received. And again, when we think of people like Rubio and people like Ted Cruz, even Jeb Bush who speaks Spanish, I mean, they may have a Spanish last name, but wait a minute, they do not have a Latino heart, because they really don't care about immigrants, they don't care about our community, they don't care about working people, they don't care about our families. So we know that it's really, really important, and we want to make a big appeal, especially to the Latino community, that we need you to get out and vote, because these are the consequences. If we do not vote, the haters will win, and we cannot allow that to happen. So again, this is our appeal, and I'm happy that we're going to have this march today to call attention and maybe get these people's attention to make them understand that they're going on the wrong path by all of these attacks that they are making on our community.
And so on that note, we will we'll entertain questions from the press. We will start within the room, and then we will shift to on the phone. So let's start here in the room.
Ms. Huerta, have you been going to sites of other debates so far, or was this the first one?
No, I was very fortunate to have been in Colorado also. We had a huge rally of, again, the working people, the labor people, people of color, Latinos, and other groups there to protest the debate in Boulder, Colorado.
Why is it important for you to make these treks to these debate sites?
Well, again, if we think of the consequences, right, of this election and the direction that our country is moving, and again, trying to erase the bigotry, which is, I think it's always a little sad when you think that these candidates are people that have been to college, or so-called educated, or prepared, and yet they can come out with such idiotic positions that they are taking on all of these different issues. And so it just makes you wonder what direction is our country going to go in, if we're going to continue the bigotry, we're going to continue the racism, the sexism, the homophobia that exists, and again, being against the working people that are really the majority of the country. Working people are not a special interest group. They happen to be the majority of the people of the United States of America, and yet these are not the people that are being taken care of.
Do you see any similarities today to what happened when you guys started the farm workers movement?
Very much so, very much so. I think that the one difference that we have today is that the right seems to be so much better organized, especially when it comes to a lot of the corporate media. And I'm not attacking the media like these other guys are, by the way, but I'm just saying that, you know, it's really, really hard for progressives to get their message out there and the things that they stand for, which is really progress for our country and not going backwards, you know, to a feudalistic kind of a period where you have so much wealth that's on the top with the 10%, and then you have the rest of the 90% of the United States where people are struggling to make a living.
We saw the other day, yesterday, Hispanics for School Choice sponsored the Jeb Bush, or organized the Jeb Bush visit. Does the school voucher issue continue to divide some Latinos?
This is such a dangerous issue when you talk about vouchers, when you talk about charter schools. This is the destruction of our public education system. And the public education system is absolutely crucial for a free democracy. We need to actually expand our educational system. We need to make it more fair, especially for children of color. We need to teach ethnic studies starting from kindergarten to end racism in our society, so that children in our schools can learn what the contributions of immigrants have been, what the contributions of labor, of women have been to our society, and so that this ignorance that these Republican candidates are demonstrating does not become part of our American fabric. You know, we've got to figure out ways to end this. And one of the best ways, and probably the most important place, is in our educational system. So we've got to have public schools. This is something that was fought for by the labor unions, so that every person in the United States would have not only a free education, but a public education for everyone. So it's a very, very dangerous issue, and it was started in California by Pete Wilson. We had no charter schools. Now we have over 1,000 charter schools, and people are, Eli Broad is one of the people who's now trying to turn the whole LA Unified School District into a charter system. And we're, especially children that are the low-income children, the most children that need education, the most are going to be denied a quality education.
My question.
Go ahead.
Okay, my question will be in Spanish. Un mensaje a toda la comunidad a través de la nación para que si son residentes se hagan ciudadanos, la importancia del voto latino.
Bueno, sabemos que esta decisión que salió de la Corte en Luisiana, que no se puede implementar DACA y DAPA, que estos padres que tienen aquí, que niños ciudadanos, ¿no?, que se pueden quedar aquí con permisos de trabajo, eso viene de manos del Partido Republicano, porque los jueces que hicieron esta decisión, que no se implemente la ley, son republicanos. Por eso tenemos que elegir a presidentes que sean más progresivos, más liberales, para que estén al lado de la gente trabajadora, al lado de la gente inmigrante. Y por eso sabemos que el voto de nosotros, de los latinos, cuenta mucho, porque nosotros podemos decidir las elecciones, pero si por la flojera o la desidia no votamos, vamos a seguir perdiendo. No podemos parar este odio, ¿no?, si nosotros nos quedamos en la casa y no votamos. Quiero decir también que sabemos que Donald Trump, que es el vocero de todo este odio, yo estoy segura que este día la comida que él comió fue pescado o fue producido por un campesino que no tenía documentos. Y tenemos que seguir adelante, que sí se puede.
So it seems to me that we've got three distinct groups that are coming together. Can you speak to, why that is the case with Black Lives Matter? You guys, the Fight for 15. Can you talk about just the fact that you guys are all coming together now? What does that mean? How is it happening? Why is it happening?
Well, number one, I think that every one of the groups that are represented actually represent the issues that affect our community. The fact of racism by law enforcement affects the Latino community, and I might say the poor white community as much as it does, the African American community. So the issue of a minimum wage increase to $15 an hour, that affects all of our communities together. And so I think it's important that we do come together, because otherwise, because when you think about it, we are the majority. And I'm going to include the women's movement in here, the feminist movement, because when you take women, you take working people, you take people of color, you take, I like to say, white men of conscience, right? That we are the majority. And if we do come together, this is the way that we will win. I think it probably is the only way that we can win.
So today is the National Day of Action for Fight for 15, and Milwaukee has been one of the sites where we've had strikes and organizing going on with low-wage workers in the fast food industry. And, Milwaukee is a majority minority city, so issues of police brutality have been not just something on a national level, but it's been Dontre Hamilton, there's been organizing that's been going on at a local level. And so, in a sense, we were already unifying for the Fight for 15 when we found out that the GOP primary presidential debate was going to be in Milwaukee. Wisconsin, and particularly Milwaukee, the highest concentration of immigrants is in Milwaukee, and we've traditionally always turned out on May 1st to stand for immigrant rights and workers' rights, and so we're all uniting under those three core banners to really push back on the Republican agenda, which attacks all of those three groups, among others.
Okay. La marcha de hoy, ¿qué significa para usted apoyarla, especialmente el día de hoy, que es el debate de estos precandidatos republicanos? ¿Y qué le diría a Donald Trump?
Bueno, primeramente me gustaría invitar a todas las personas que están escuchando y que saben de esta marcha, que nos acompañen y que traigan a sus hijos también, por favor, porque los niños, cuando ellos marchan, ellos van a vivir esos momentos y se van a acordar y van a crecer, se van a ser más poderosos en términos de reconocimiento de política y lo que ellos pueden hacer la diferencia, ¿no? Y sabemos que es muy importante, esperamos que estos candidatos nos escuchen. Ojalá que les puede llegar a su conciencia, a su corazón, a que queremos que estos ataques en contra de la gente migrante, en la gente trabajadora, en contra de las mujeres, en contra del ambiente, que paren estas tonterías y ojalá que que nos escuchen. Sí se puede.